Americans spent a bit more money at some big-name stores last month, getting a boost from falling gasoline prices, gains in the labor market, and the rally on Wall Street. Chains like The Gap, Victoria's Secret, Ross Stores, Costco reported overall sales rose 4.7% in April compared with the same month last year.
Now, many of those same retailers have their apparel made overseas, where a key concern is worker safety. One of the major focal points right now for safer working conditions is Bangladesh, where multiple tragedies have befallen factory workers. The latest one was just last night. So, how do consumers and companies react when disaster strikes at suppliers overseas? Courtney Reagan has more.
Yet another tragedy strikes in Bangladesh's garment industry. 8 people died when fire spread through a Bangladesh clothing factory, adding to the tragic loss of life from a building collapse 2 weeks ago. At least 900 Bangladeshi garment workers perished in that collapse, which is now the deadliest industrial disaster in world history. But it's not the first. In November, a fire in a Bangladesh factory producing clothing for Walmart killed 112 workers. The magnitude is impossible to ignore for many U.S. retailers like Walmart, JCPenney, Gap, Nike, and Target, who have apparel manufactured overseas. Retailers are feeling a new degree of pressure to reassess global sourcing strategies at a time in which many consumers are becoming less tolerant of irresponsible and potentially dangerous manufacturing practices.
Ultimately, consumers will turn against big brands and retailers that refuse to take the minimal steps necessary to protect the safety and the lives of the workers in their factories globally, in particular in Bangladesh.
But pulling out of Bangladesh is not a truly viable option for either side of the deal. Retailers like Walmart, H&M, and Gap have made substantial investments in factories in the country. While no nation wants workers in unsafe conditions, losing contracts with major retailers is financially devastating. Bangladesh's garment industry makes up 80% of the poverty-stricken country's exports. While the end consumer does benefit by paying lower prices on items like these that are made in Bangladesh, some say the cost of improving conditions is minimal.
For less than 10 cents a garment, the brands and retailers could undertake the factory repairs and renovations necessary to protect the lives and safety of the workers making this clothing. The impact for consumers would be negligible.
Last week, Joe Mimran, the founder of retailer Joe Fresh, pledged compensation for victims and families. In March, Walt Disney decided it would no longer source from 5 countries that do not meet certain safety standards, including Bangladesh. High-end department store Nordstrom says customers are starting to ask questions about sourcing and that it's looking for new ways to provide relevant information to shoppers. Following the Rana Plaza building collapse, the Bangladesh government said 18 garment factories were shut down for safety reasons, though 6 of them were already cleared to reopen Thursday. For Nightly Business Report, I'm Courtney Reagan.
Now, in recent years, labor advocacy groups and consumers have banded together to force retailers to adopt new codes of conduct related to labor rights. Just last week, Adidas agreed to pay legally mandated severance pay to Indonesian factory workers who lost their jobs back in 2011.